Hi, everybody. This is your teaching video for Tuesday, February 16th. You do need to have a math notebook and pencil because you are going to be writing 3 different examples in your notebook before you try anything independently. If you need to, go ahead and push pause on the video, go grab those materials, and then come back and push play. I also want to remind you again that you can push pause at any time if you need extra time copying things down or if you want to rewatch a part of the video for better understanding. So our learning targets are the same. We are still continuing to develop our understanding of how to add fractions with unlike denominators using what we know about equivalent fractions to create common denominators so that way we can add. So taking a look here, I would like for you to copy these 4 examples into your notebook. So here is a review of how to find equivalent fractions. Last week we started using our fraction tiles or coloring models, and then we grew to understanding that you can use multiplication to make equivalent fractions. So again, you should have in your notebook this example right here, 2/3 equals blank ninths. So what you're going to do is you're going to think to yourself, 3 times what gave me 9? 3 times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I'm going to do 2 times 3. So your new numerator is 6. Again, both of these fractions represent the same shaded amount. It's just that they have different size pieces. They're equivalent or equal. Whatever you do to the bottom, so you look at your denominators first, and whatever that rule is, which is times 3, that's what you then do to the top. So now, go ahead, push pause, try those other 3 problems in your notebooks, then come back and push play. All right, so let's take a look at what you got for the other 3 problems. So again, thinking to yourself, 2 times what equals 8? Well, 2 times 4. If I multiply the bottom by 4, I have to multiply the top by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 4 gives me a new numerator of 4. All right, the example down below, 4/5 is equal to how many 30ths? 5 times what equals 30? 5 times 6 equals 30. So I'm going to do the same thing to the top. 4 times 6 gives me an equivalent fraction of 24/30ths. And the last one, 6 times what gives you 18? You should have thought to yourself 6 times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 2 times 3 is 6. So now we're going to take this concept and apply it to what we were doing with adding fractions last week. So here are the rules. So remember, when you're adding fractions with unlike denominators, first you have to find a common denominator. You do that by listing the multiples. And again, we did that last week. We would do 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 3, 6, and then you find the one that they both share, the multiple that they both share that appears on both lists. Then we're going to make equivalent fractions, and then we finally add. So the only difference is we've taken away the models this week, and we're going to have to find equivalent fractions for both of the fractions this week. All right, so go ahead and copy this example in your book. So I'm just going to show you in red over here. Your notebook should look something like this. 1/2 plus 1/3, draw the line, and then these arrows are showing you what your new equivalent fractions are going to be like. So it's exactly what you see on the screen here. All right, in your notebooks, go ahead now and list the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, and so on, and the multiples of 3. 2, 4, 6, 8. Again, if you need to pause the video because you want to try this yourself and then come back and push play when you're ready. 3, 6, 9, 12. All right, so now what we need to do is find the number that appears on both of the lists. And that becomes our new common denominator. So let's see. You should have circled 6 in your notebook. So that's going to be our new denominator. So I have to turn both 1/2 and 1/3 into sixth size pieces. We found our denominator by making the list of multiples and figuring out which one appears on both of the lists. All right, so now let's go ahead and see what we got. All right, so you're going to use those strategies for equivalent fractions that we just practiced. So you're going to think to yourself, well, 2 times what amount gives you 6? 2 times 3 gives you 6. Whatever I do to the bottom, I'm going to also do that rule to my numerator. So 1 times 3 gives me 3. So 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6. Now I'm going to do the same thing down below. I'm going to think to myself, well, 3 times what gave me 6? 3 times 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. Now that I have the same size pieces, this is my new problem right here. So I can go ahead and add that. So I can do 3/6 plus 2/6, and you don't need to rewrite it. You can just write it right underneath if you want. Remember, your denominator stays the same, so you just add your numerator. 3 plus 2 gives me 5 sixth size pieces. And here is your final answer. All right, so just to review those steps one more time. First, we had to list our multiples. So that's what we did down here. Step 2, we had to make common denominators and equivalent fractions. And then step 3, you went ahead and added. Let's take a look at another example. So go ahead in your notebooks now. You're going to copy down this problem, 1/2 plus 2/5. After you copy it down, it might be a good idea to push pause on the video, try it yourself, and then come back and see if you get the same answer. All right, so now that we have it copied down, I notice that my denominators are not the same, which means I do not have the same size pieces. Step 1, list our multiples and find a common denominator. Let's see, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now let's do it for 5. 5, 10. And guess what? Because I found the number that's on both lists, I don't have to go any further. I can actually just stop right here. So 10 is our common denominator. Again, it's a common denominator because it appears on both of the lists. So now I need to make equivalent fractions where 10 is the denominator. So we're going to go back to those practices where we think to ourselves. So right here, we're thinking 2 times what number gave us 10? So 2 times 5 gave us 10. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 1 times 5 gives me a numerator of 5. So now let's go to the second fraction. Thinking to myself, what did I do to the 5 to make 10? 5 times 2 makes 10. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do again to the top. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I can go ahead and add because I have the same size pieces, and there's my new problem. Again, you don't have to rewrite it, but I'm going to off to the side just so you can see it more clearly. All right. Again, my denominator stays the same because that's the size of my pieces. 5 plus 4 make 9. And there's my final answer. So for your independent work today, what I have for you is 2 more problems for you to try independently. So you're going to want to click that link for the student paced Nearpod, as well as there was an additional iReady lesson assigned about equivalent fractions. So because we need that to do everything successfully in our next 3 lessons, you really want to make sure that you are practicing those equivalent fraction lessons. Don't forget, join me at office hours if you ever have any questions.